Hello everyone, this is Bridget Cook-Burch, and I could not be more excited and delighted to introduce you to an extraordinary author, Brita Peterson. She's here today to tell you all about her brand new book. Brita, tell us the name of your book and what it's all about.
The name of my book is Getting Through Today: How Chronic Illness Taught Me the Beauty in Being Broken. I grew up as a competitive athlete. I loved sports, and when I got married and started having kids, my body just started shutting down, and I started getting diagnosed with chronic illnesses, severe depression, anxiety. So I just wasn't the person I used to be, and it was really hard to get through.
When we started working together, you had a really strong premise, and that was that you had met so many others who were really struggling and didn't know how to make it even from day to day to day. And you had been through enough and had come out on the other side that you felt like you had some gifts to share. And so what would you say would be one of the greatest gifts to someone who is facing chronic illness of how do I accept this? And how do I move forward from day to day? Like how can I feel like I'm still a contribution to my family, to society?
I think one of the biggest things, when I was going through it, I didn't really accept where I was at. I wanted to be the person I used to be. I wanted to be able to do all the things that I used to be able to do for my children, for my family. But I think one of the biggest things that people can do is to find the beauty in each day where you find all the things you can do. Because there's plenty you can do from bed. There's plenty you can contribute to your family. It's just, maybe more movie nights or movie days with your kids. But I think, the biggest thing is just to be okay with where you're at and keep having hope that things can get better, but not to focus on what you can't do.
Beautiful. So tell us a little bit about your family.
Yes, so I am married. My husband is Jeff. He's amazing. He has just loved me through this all really beautifully. Very good teammate. And we have 5 children who are amazing.
5, that's just amazing to me. 5 children. And you've been able to find strength and also be strength despite all these circumstances. Yeah. So tell me about this. What would you say was the impetus for you to decide to write this book? Like, why this book and why now?
I was in a very dark place with my depression and things. And I think the biggest reason I wanted to share my story is because I know there's a lot of people going through the same thing. Mm-hmm. And if I could touch one person to help them have a little bit of hope or a little bit of joy along their journey, because I didn't have a lot. And I didn't find a lot of support, and I couldn't find a community to really relate to and be inspired by. I'm
out in the community as you're talking about it. You were finding that there wasn't a lot of inspiration. There wasn't a lot of how do I continue to move forward? I had signed up on social media for a lot of support groups for chronic illness, and maybe I just wasn't finding the right ones. But I felt like a lot of them were more negative. And I understand we need to vent because it's hard. It's really hard being sick all the time. But I also needed somewhere, to hearing people getting better and to feeling okay with where they're at, and I just couldn't find that. So then you have actually written the book that you needed to have, that wasn't available. You have written that for others.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. And tell me about the writing process for you. Like, what inspired you, and then what would keep you going when times were hard?
I've always loved to write, and I thought I would just sit down and write this book and get it published. You helped me so much to bring out I love that you talk about the juicy parts of your story. There was a lot that that you helped me go deeper to make the story so much more, I think, relatable. And some of my beta readers that have read it have said, that they have felt the story. And I feel like, with your help, you're really able to help me take those parts out of it.
Beautiful. So. That they felt your story. What a great compliment, Brita.
Right.
That's beautiful. In your writing process, because just like everything else from day to day, did you find that you could be a writer and a mom? Did you find you could be a writer and you've been doing business and consulting and other things? So how would you incorporate that into your schedule with everything that you face on a daily basis?
Right. So for me, because I do have 5 kids, they come first. And so a lot of times, I'm writing late at night or, really just any moment that becomes available. I'm good to kind of come and go with it. I don't have to sit for hours. But yeah, I just kind of, mainly at night.
when everybody else is asleep and settled down.
Yeah.
I understand that. And where did you find you drew your greatest inspiration from?
One of the biggest things that inspired me while I was writing the book were my kids. They didn't always have the mom that I wanted them to be. But I think sharing my story, even just with them, helps them as they get older to kind of see what I was going through, even though it was really hard for all of us.
Knowing that there are literally millions of people who struggle with chronic illness on a daily basis, what would you say is like the biggest breakthrough that you had that you were choosing to share through this book, through your life, through what it is that you represent? As you've been bringing back this elixir of life and choosing to share your strength with others. What is that strength?
I think one of the biggest things is to listen to yourself and to be an advocate for yourself. I went from doctor to doctor before I even got my first diagnosis. And so I think, I just kept listening to these promptings and this intuition telling me to go to another doctor, don't give up, and it led me to some kind of things that I never thought I would try. Some very out of the box things, but for me it was this jump in faith that really helped me find healing. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be the same for everybody. We all have a different journey, but I want to share what worked for me so people could maybe try it. And then I want to hear what they're using or trying so that maybe I can, find more help in other areas.
Beautiful. And be able to create community and bring greater awareness and more ideas.
Yes.
Beautiful. Have you always had doctors that listen to you?
No. I've had some great doctors, but I've also had plenty that just dismiss me. I mean, one doctor, I had gone kind of at the beginning of my journey, and he sent me home with depression meds and sleep meds. And I'm like, okay, maybe I probably had depression that I wasn't acknowledging, but I was sleeping fine. So I don't know why he sent me home with those. So it was difficult finding people who would listen.
Yeah, he wasn't listening to you, so it was a good thing that you were listening
Yes.
to your own intuition that would take you to the next step and the next step.
Yeah.
Wow. So if there was someone that was watching this and they were struggling with chronic illness, in addition to following their intuition, what else would you say would bring you hope from day to day, but also for a greater future? Like some people with chronic illness, they choose to stay low. They choose to stay a victim of their circumstances. What would you tell someone facing what you have been facing?
Well, I think it's so important for everybody to share their story because we don't know who we're going to resonate with. We're not going to resonate with everyone. But the more people that share their story and we help each other, it's just this beautiful community of people helping each other. And we're going through different things, but we can relate with each other.
So you told me once that the writing process itself, writing your story, putting things down on paper, that it changed your world. Could you describe that for anyone that might be thinking, like you said, that they need to share their story? What did writing it down and seeing it in black and white, what did that do for you?
As I wrote it down, and we did lots of edits, so I reread it a lot. But writing it was just so therapeutic because I think it helped me accept what I was going through, number one, and really to see what I'd been through and where I was and the progress I had made. But it also helped me have compassion for myself. I was reading the story, if I was reading someone else's story that had been through what I had been through, I would be sad for them. And I think it helped me process my emotions kind of and heal through writing it down.
Beautiful, beautiful. And one of the things you wanted to make sure that you showcased, because I think there was a part of you that was worried about, I can't have the happily ever after, because this is something that, I will be facing for the rest of my life. Like, I'll have good days and I'll have some days that may be more of a struggle. So, and then you started to have some major shifts mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And so, what would be your take on that now?
Well, I think when I started writing the book, I really didn't think it was possible to have a happy ending. Because I was still dealing with depression and illness. I was still in bed a lot. But yeah, as I kept going and found new tools to help me heal, my health isn't perfect, but I'm listening to my body now. And so the days I need to rest, I rest. And so I think it was really powerful now to say, even if I'm not where I want to be exactly, this is happy. It is good.
It is happy. You're living a joyful life.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's beautiful, I think, is that you have discovered extraordinary resources of energy to be able to show up for your family, to be able to do things for yourself, including you're a singer-songwriter and a voiceover talent. And so how do you manage that? And then how do you celebrate that? Have time for your passion, have this beauty in life, and be able to figure out which days?
So music has been a big part of my life, giving me a lot of just help through the hard times. And yeah, I just find the time. My kids are all in school now, so sometimes I'll just go sit at the piano and write music and sing. And it's just an important part of the day that I take for myself.
Oh, I love that. The day that you take for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was there a time that you would have felt guilty about that? Do you feel like you have become the hero of your own story?
Oh, for sure. I had a lot of guilt for a lot of things, not being able to show up how I wanted. But now I know that it's important to take care of myself first so that I can take care of everybody else.
Beautiful. So tell us a little bit about that rise. Tell us where you went to inside in order to be able to face this and say, no, I am actually the victor. I am the hero of my story.
Well, I got so low mentally that I was willing to try anything. And I didn't realize that a lot of my physical illness was connected with some emotional trauma from my childhood. And as I faced that, I was able to heal in a way I just didn't even know was possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. And so while you were working on your book, was your story evolving?
Yes. Yes, and I kept getting frustrated that I couldn't finish it. But then, a few more months would go by and then I'd have an amazing experience that I knew needed to go in the book. So I think part of it is just trusting the process. If things aren't coming, well, maybe there's more experience we need before we can finish.
There you go. Because she got to be very triumphant.
Yes.
And she is. You can tell by her countenance.
Yes.
It's lovely. So what would you tell anyone who is thinking about writing their own story? What advice would you give?
I think first what helped me was just writing it out. Write the first draft from start to finish. But then find somebody to help you really go deep, because that's the part that will touch people. When you share from your heart and you really share the depth of what you've been through, that's when your story has power. Beautiful.
Yes, we have a saying, no tears for the writer, no tears for the reader, no laughter for the writer, no laughter for the reader. And I love that you embody that. Like, she's juicy. And what is there one last thing that you would love for people to know? Why is it important that they pick up this book?
Well, I think most of us are broken in some way. It doesn't matter our circumstances. Most of us have something we're going through. And even though my journey is through chronic illness, I just think we all have things that we can rise above and get through with enough love and support for ourselves, and then finding the community around us to support us.
Brita, what did it take for you to become your own advocate?
You know, I think for me, growing up as a competitive athlete, I was not ever one to give up. And so even if I heard something was impossible, or I never took that as a solid answer. I was going to figure something else out. So I always just kept going forward.
Like Alice in Wonderland, do 8 impossible things before breakfast.
Right.
Well, it seems like that has served you to so many capacities.
Yes.
And so where are you taking this book? Where are you utilizing this to be able to reach and touch the lives of others? Where are you headed, Brita?
So I'm being asked to speak to groups of people, and I really hope that I can touch as many lives as I can. You know, I've thought about it a lot. When I was in my darkest moments, I don't know if I could have been reached by anyone, but I'm certainly going to try to reach as many people as I can.
What's beautiful too is sometimes we're the one who hears it on behalf of someone that we love. So someone will likely pick up this book for a loved one, a relative, someone, a good friend that has found themselves in the spiral of chronic illness, and be able to offer such incredible hope and beauty in even just what the journey is. It's so beautiful to see you shine because, you know, when you started on this, you did have a thread of hope that you would be able to do something for someone else. And I have always found that if someone is willing to serve someone else, that they grow so much into that capacity. And over and over and over, I have seen you shine and grow to a greater and greater capacity. And where you get excited and passionate about is who you can reach and who you can touch. That's a very beautiful leadership quality that I love to see in you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The person that I was before I got sick was a doer. You know, I was what I did. I was a great athlete. I was great at music. You know, when those things were stripped away from me, I didn't know who I was at all. When I really had to dig deep and figure out who I was at my core, it's been really neat because I've found a person in myself that I didn't really know before.
Stronger than you thought.
Right.
Stronger than you knew.
Right.
You have a story that touched me so much when I read it. You'd been down for a while, and then your daughter was taking horseback lessons.
Right.
Will you share that with us?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that was hard for me was not being able to show up for my kids like I wanted to. I wanted to be at all their activities. But I remember a day that I was able to go to my daughter's horse lesson. And, you know, I'd get teary-eyed, get emotional now, because just those simple little things that I could be there for, that's what was important.
Yeah.
And it was so much more amazing to be there because I hadn't been able to be at everything.
And it was a big deal to like see her countenance, and she was so happy to see you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And to just see her happiness, you know, and of course I wanted to be at everything, but because I couldn't, when I showed up for them, they knew that it wasn't always easy, but they knew I was there for them. So one of the new songs that I'm writing is called Beautiful Broken. And, you know, I would invite you to look within yourself and find the beauty where you're at. Let go of the person you were and redefine yourself into that new, stronger version that comes out of the darkness.